All right, it's your boy MBK in the building with a special guest being Phenomenal John, and today we're talking about The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. And I'm gonna let John introduce himself, and I'll link his TikTok and our socials down in the description.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is John, or at Phenomenal John on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you can find me, and on the Phenomenal Bunch on YouTube. I'm honored to be on here to talk about not just one of my favorite comic book movies, but probably one of my favorite movies of all time in the Batman. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and John, tell us what type of content you make on. Well, tell the viewers what type of content you make on social media, man.
So I usually make comic book content, so not just the movies, but also the comics themselves. I'm all about that. So if you guys want to see that on my page, analysis on comics, especially ones that are coming out currently, and even comic book movies, comic book TV shows, whatever there might be. So that's my bread and butter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we've been friends roughly for 2 years, going to 3 years on TikTok. It's been a great journey with you, man. Yeah, let's start diving into the Batman. My first question is, what was your first experience like watching this film in the movie theater?
So I mean, I was super hyped for this movie. So I mean, you want to talk about TikTok? One of my first, well, probably my first TikTok was related to the Batman, and I was super hyped. So I went into the theater with super high expectations. So I went in with high expectations, and when I walked out of the movie theater, I was blown away. And the first thought I had was, I want to watch it again. So,
Yeah,
and I didn't feel it 3 hours at all. It went by super quickly. I genuinely, I just wanted to watch it again. That was my first
yeah,
reaction after getting
yeah.
it.
I mean, this is a 3 hour film,
Right.
but I think the pacing is really strong for this film because
Yeah.
it flows by so quickly. Because I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was working at a gas station. I have a late shift that ended around 8, and I'm like, I have to see the Batman opening night. There was a 10 p.m. showtime. I was tired that day, but for some reason, when I watched this film and just got into Gotham and the grittiness, it just made me feel more energetic while watching this film, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
after that, I didn't really feel tired at that night, which was just insane experience. It was like drinking coffee at night, make you
Yeah.
stay awake. Like it's really great. And I think the key thing of this movie that pulls you in is probably the opening monologue scene with Bruce Wayne just talking about him being a nocturnal animal, saying fear is a weapon against these criminals, and seeing the bad signal and seeing all the criminals, like the low life criminals, just fearing this guy because they're scared of Batman. And I think that's what grabs you in the beginning. And what was your opinion on that opening monologue scene with Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. So I love the opening of the movie, like you said. Immediately as soon as the movie starts, you're in. It's Thursday, October 31st. I'm feeling like a nocturnal animal. He says he's been doing this for 2 years, all that stuff. And then he has a classic line, I am the shadows or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, it makes the ending better. I know I'm pretty sure we're gonna get to the ending later, but everything in this movie, like, it just makes whatever comes after it better. And the opening is a strong example of that, and it's very very important. Like you said it earlier, like everybody fears this guy. Like they're staring up into the sky and see the bat signal, and they're like, "I'm not safe," and that
Yeah.
goes into the ending as well. And I know we're gonna jump into it soon, but as soon as he's done doing the monologue, you get your first intro to how Batman kind of fights, right? And he
Yeah.
takes down all the criminals in like a really cool fashion. We see what we see in the trailer from the DC fandom, but the civilian he saves is terrified of him.
Yeah. Terrified. Exactly.
Yeah,
Um. Also, I feel like the opening does a great job at making Gotham this own character, which I think is very important for any Batman movie to have Gotham feel like a character, like this really corrupt, disgusting criminals in the city, and this adds this realistic approach to it. And speaking of the opening, the introduction to the Riddler was really great. It really reminded me a little bit of the Zodiac Killer. especially with how he's designed, how he's moving, with like the slow approach in the beginning, the way he kills the first victim and tapes him up. I thought that was really solid too.
Yeah, I agree. That probably should have been mentioned. That's the true opening of the movie, right?
Yeah, that's a true opening, but we
Right.
were talking. Yeah,
We were talking about the opening monologue, I guess. But yes, that was very creepy. You know, you see the TV turn on and off, and that's when you see the first shot of the Riddler in the scene, which
yeah,
kind of goes to show how not just the movie is just dark in terms of like themes and what it covers, but it's dark in the way it is visually too. And that
yeah,
was it was a perfect way to take advantage of that and kind of introduce the Riddler. So I thought that
yeah.
was very well done.
Yeah, and speaking of the Riddler, Paul Dano's performance, he's not in the movie for long. It
No.
reminds me of Seven, where John Doe is barely in the film, but you feel the impact he does. Because when he shows up, it's terrifying. Every time he shows up, it's slow approach. He has a weird, like, he has these creepy eye movements. And I think Paul Dano just does a phenomenal job as the character. We go dive into ghost samples later on. Let's dive into like the Arkham style opening and that subway, you want to say train subway area, because I think that was really solid.
Yeah. So I mentioned my first TikTok earlier. You mentioned Arkham style, so I really
Yeah,
wanted to kind of emphasize that. My first ever TikTok is where I edited the Arkham icons on top of that fight scene, and it just kind of goes to show how well the fight choreography here
yeah,
is. I know like people like to mention the Batfleck warehouse scene. I think the fight choreography here is easily much better done. And the opening is a good example of that. There's obviously a couple more fight scenes in the movie that I think are pretty perfect, but this was also a really good introduction. It shows a more inexperienced, but also a little bit of a brutal Batman. You know, even
yeah,
like learning, he's still going all out. He wants to hurt the people that are doing bad. You know, and that gives a bad impression to the people who he's saving. And,
yeah,
that it kind of goes to show with the vengeance line. You know, he says, "I'm vengeance." You know, he doesn't even say,
yeah,
"I'm Batman. I'm this, that, the other."
yeah,
He says, "I am vengeance," and that's when he starts pounding on a guy. And even though he's already knocked down a few more punches for good measure, it's like a really brutal fighting
yeah,
style.
like really brutal Batman. Well, that's how Batman is in the beginning. Later on, becomes
Yeah,
better in this film, and especially well in the comic books too. So it's pretty accurate to that
yeah,
as well. But I love like the first detective scene where the victim is like standing, well, not standing, sitting, but the riddle was he lies still. But I love the approach the Batman is where, well, Bruce Wayne, Batman, whatever, is very slow.
hmm
And like even when he's walking around, you feel this like fear that he brings to other people around him.
hmm
But he's very slow, observant, and he figures out what's going on in the crime scene, which was something really awesome to see because we never realistically seen that live action before. So I think that was something fresh and unique to the character, but respectful towards the Batman character at the same time.
absolutely. Yeah, he has. I think this is very very important in any superhero movie, but this is especially well done here. It's like your hero has presence. You know, like he has a presence on the screen. So he's walking around this crime scene, and he just like you said, the slow methodical walk around. You just like feel everything that he's doing. He's
Yeah,
observing. He's looking at everything. He's trying to get an idea of what the hell is going on. And
exactly.
I think it's done masterfully. And also, I know we're gonna talk about it a lot, but Robert Pattinson's eyes, like his eyes, I know people wanted the white eyes, but I'm so glad they didn't because his eyes and his like facial expressions, because he's in the costume for the majority of the movie.
Yeah,
He does such a good job at just telling so much of a story with just his face, which is why I think he was probably
yeah.
the most perfect casting for
Yeah,
the role.
exactly. And like speaking of Batman, he's very much like a bat because in like the conversation, well, the first conversation with Alfred, where like Alfred's trying to figure out the
Yeah,
riddle, then the lights on, and he's like, "Oh, this is bright." Like, I'm like, this guy's literally acting like a bat,
and he's
which
eating some
is
berries. It's so
yeah, it's so like it's so hilarious, but like it's like, oh wow, this is they're going all in with that,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I really appreciate that. like he's not really Bruce Wayne in this movie. He's more so Batman. But I
Right.
feel like even the little bit Bruce Wayne we got of him, I think his Bruce Wayne was really solid.
Very.
Only thing that upset me about his Bruce Wayne was when he said to Alfred, "You're not my father." I thought I was
Yeah.
like a little iffy. Still to this day, but other than that, that's like the smallest nitpick I have for this character
Yeah,
so
yeah,
far.
it's a trope. It's a trope because a lot of comic book superheroes, their parents aren't really around. They have like a different guardian or a different partner.
Yeah,
You hear that was a line back in the 2002 Spider-Man movie where you're not my father. So
yeah.
I understand that's a trope. It didn't bother me per se, but I can definitely see why it was a thrown in line. Also, anybody being mean to Alfred is gonna be noticed for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, like Alfred is trying his best to raise this guy, no matter what.
yeah,
He chooses to raise Bruce Wayne. Like he doesn't have to, but he wants to because he feels bad for the guy losing his parents. And then, like him, that gives me the ick a little bit.
yeah,
Um, what else we could talk about? Oh yeah, I also really like the sequence in that Penguin club sequence. I
yeah,
love the red. Like speaking of this movie, great color grading in so many sequences. Like the Penguin Club scene, there's a lot of red. The Batmobile scene where he crashes Penguin. Amazing cinematography with the
yeah,
fire, the bright orange. It really stands out. But I really enjoyed the whole fight scene, especially with the red. And just beating up the dogs, going after Penguin to find out about information about this mole, and I think that was really solid in the film.
yeah. I mean, I think it kind of goes back to the movie being a dark movie, on not just like obviously emotionally or anything like that, but also in terms of the way it looks. And I think that kind of adds to the color grading because color is used sparingly because Gotham is a very dirty, dark, messed up city. So any uses of color is very very important. So the red and the iceberg lounge, or the 22 below, whatever you want to call it. So the orange, and when Batman, kind of throws the bat, like crashes the Penguin with the Batmobile, that was also perfectly done. Uh, and then at the ending when he pulls the flare, that's a
Oh
very
yeah,
vivid
yeah,
red as well. So colors used very sparingly in the film, and it's used perfectly throughout. You don't need it to be like a Guardians where there's colors everywhere and everything's all nice. This is it's a Batman movie, so it's
yeah. I agree with that, and I feel like the color grading is so important for this movie, and
yeah,
I feel like Matt Reeves knows how to make a dark environment, especially with his previous work, the Apes movies.
yes,
Like you see the similarities of the striking style from that to the Apes movies. There's like one action scene where Batman is whole dark and only light you see is the gunshots. And there's a sequence in the War Planet AIDS that's very similar to that. So it really shows that Matt Reeves kind of uses what he likes in his previous movies and puts it in another film being the Batman. I think that's really important, really awesome to see directors use their previous work and take inspiration from it and do their own spin to it in another film.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that because Matt Reeves is a very accomplished director. So him utilizing some techniques from one of the best trilogies, with the Ape trilogy. So
Yeah.
I think that was very nice to see. Um, but yeah, I mean that just goes back to the perfect use of color. I mean, you mentioned it with the Penguin. I mean, what I guess we can jump over to it. The Iceberg Lounge is also our first introduction to Catwoman in this movie.
Yeah,
Selena.
Catwoman. Yeah, yeah.
So she, I mean, this is going to come as a hot take, but I haven't seen the entirety of Batman Returns, so I've never really grown up being a big fan of Michelle Pfeiffer. I liked Anne Hathaway a lot in The Dark Knight Rises, but I know the opinion on that movie is pretty mixed. But in my opinion, if you want to talk about comics, Batman Year One is the main inspiration for Catwoman here, not just in the way that she looks, but also the way she acts, the way she is, kind of uh, she's not the rich elite. She's like in the lower working class. She works at the Iceberg Lounge. She's been kind of wronged by the higher elite of Gotham, like Carmine Falcone. So I thought this was a very well done version of Selena Kyle, and Zoe Kravitz does a perfect job.
Yeah. But like Speaking of the character Catwoman, her mission is to save her friend for the world of
Yes.
crime. That's all she wants to do, right?
Hmm.
Um, Later on, we know what happens, but I feel like having emotional story for Catwoman is really important. I really love the first interaction between Batman and Catwoman. I thought that was really great, especially when Batman goes to her apartment and just cats everywhere. I thought
Yeah.
that was hilarious in the film. Also really like the sequence where you know Bruce Wayne gets Slade and Kyle into action to find who the mole was, and Slade and Kyle
Yes.
doesn't want to be a part of it. And I thought that whole sequence was really clever, especially with the eye things that they put into her.
Yeah.
I
That was
thought,
a very unique thing, the eye tracking technology that Bruce uses. I thought it was very interesting because he's walking around because we see it in the crime scene earlier on in the movie, and he's just gonna walk around the crime scene. He doesn't say anything though. He just like kind of stays quiet. He stays to himself. But when he comes back, you kind of realize why. It's because he's doing his own scan of the crime scene. So for him to give it to someone else, and then we see more of what the eye tracking technology can do and how kind of advanced Bruce is. Like he's scanning like who is this person, who is that person.
yeah,
I kind of
exactly.
a cool way to kind of introduce, well, I guess not introduce, but kind of bring up how Carmine Falcone is related to Selena Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that's really clever in the film, but also reminds me. Let's go back to Arkham. It reminds me of the detective mode at Arkham, like in the Arkham games, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, maybe Matt Reeves took inspiration from the Arkham games because A, you had the combat that feels like Arkham. You got like the detective side that feels like Arkham, especially with the eyelid scanning thing. So I must like he has to take some form of
Absolutely.
inspiration from
Yeah, absolutely. Fight scenes from from the detective mode eyewear pretty much, but and kind of the dark mood of the games as well. I completely agree.
yeah, and even like the monologue in the beginning kind of reminds me how Arkham Knight opens up, if that makes sense a little
No, it
bit.
does, this is how it happened. This is how the Batman died. Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a little similarities. I feel I like the Easter eggs. Obviously, you're a big comic book guy, so you could probably see the Long Halloween inspiration in this film, especially this
Yes.
movie in the beginning take place in Halloween, October 31st. So that's something really awesome to see that shows that Matt Reeves is like, oh, I'm a comic book fan too. I'm gonna show
Yes.
that, put that into the Batman movie, and I think it's something really excellent. And it's very important for directors who are passionate about these projects to bring that to light.
Yeah, you mentioned the comic book influences. You have Batman Year One, which I know is a common, influence in a lot of Batman projects. But you also had Batman: The Long Halloween, and he really wanted to kind of focus on the detective aspect of Batman. But one of my favorite parts of this movie is not just the detective aspect of Batman; it's kind of the mental aspect of Bruce Wayne versus Batman. And he took inspiration from a comic book called Batman Ego by Darwin Cook, which is also a very fantastic comic, very underrated. Not too many people have read it. And I mean, I guess that kind of I love we mentioned it earlier, like he's in the Batman costume a lot in this movie, and he is really kind of taken away by his mission. You're not going to Selena Kyle's mission is just to keep people that she cares about safe, but Batman's mission is kind of to get rid of all crime in Gotham the best he can. He's kind of like overtaken by it. So seeing
Yeah.
his mental kind of change throughout the course of the movie, I think it's one of the best dynamic shifts we've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with that. And after the whole detective thing with Sling Kyle, you see Riddler take down one of the moles,
Yes.
or and then I love the sequence that he was not giving up the mole, like when Riddler called him for the phone. I think that was a creepy riddle thing that really reminds me of Zodiac, especially with the messages he brings that Bruce Wayne has to find out. But that whole sequence where he doesn't want to give up the mole,
Mhm.
jaw dropping, especially when the explosion happens. You see Batman
Yeah.
flying, and you see like the fire coming out. Well, coming out in a sense, and I think that was a really intense sequence that kept your heart racing. And I feel like this is why this movie works so well. It's like the sound mixing, sound design, cinematography is all top notch in this.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. I mean, also if you're going to talk about that scene where he has the potential mole kind of trapped in the I guess the church or wherever the funeral was taking place, and seeing the creepiness of Riddler just over the phone. And it kind of shows that even though the villain isn't there a lot, like you said earlier, you feel their presence a lot.
Yeah,
You feel like an impending danger if Batman
yeah,
didn't do anything, and I think
yeah,
that was so well done. So I
yeah.
love that scene overall.
Yeah, like I talked about this earlier, but this movie, like Riddler, really reminds me of a movie of Seven, Zodiac. It's definitely inspired by that, no doubt about it. But it has its own spin to it, which just makes this movie work and click. Because it doesn't feel like a ripoff. It feels like its original idea, which is something spectacular, which I wish we got more in comic book movies. But we haven't talked about Jim Gordon yet, which is something
Oh
crazy right now. I'm like, um, I love the fact that in 2 years, Jim Gordon has so much trust for Batman to do good, even though
yeah,
like cops around is like, don't trust him, he's a vigilante and stuff like that, and you see that throughout the whole runtime of this movie. And I love the first beginning sequence when they're in the garage and they're looking for the thumb drive, and it's actually somebody's thumb, and Gordon picks it up. Oh, thumb drive. This guy is hilarious. I like the little bit of humor they
yeah.
incorporated in there. Yeah.
You're complete. I can't believe we haven't talked about Jeffrey Wright. That's insane. Jeffrey Wright is. I mean, he's probably my favorite Commissioner Gordon. It's hard to say because Gary Oldman is really, really good too. Not to compare or anything, but Jeffrey Wright, he adds I don't want to say humor because he's not like funny all the time, but he adds a lot of stuff to it. I mean, I know we haven't talked about Jeffrey Wright yet until now, but Jeffrey Wright's interactions with someone else we haven't talked about in full yet is Colin Farrell's Penguin. I
Yeah.
think obviously, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. The infamous now El Rata Alana scene. I
Good
mean,
call, bad shit call.
yeah, he's like world's greatest detectives. That's the worst Spanish I've ever heard. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. Uh,
But
yeah,
yeah.
I love Jeffrey Wright in here. He has a lot of great scenes. I mean, and he's not like a I don't want to say like he's not a big presence in the movie. Like he doesn't have like the most amount of lines or anything. But anytime he's with Batman, like he has, you just I love their partnership. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's
much trust.
fantastic. But like speaking of like the sequence that led, like the first mold not giving away the information, and then we go to Batman being the police station, and Jim Gordon says, "Punch me in the face,"
Yeah,
and then you see this is where you see Batman not fully, experience, because when he's gliding, you see him like getting scared a little bit. You see the
yeah,
hesitation in him. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. I like that aspect of the character because he's only been Batman for 2 years, so he's going to obviously make these mistakes, and you see that right in the like right there, because he hesitated to glide the first time, which led to him crashing. And I thought that was funny.
I
The
thought it
way,
was very funny too. This movie does have some moments of humor here and there. It's not
yeah,
like dark all the way through. And I think whenever
yeah,
they try to do anything funny, it works very, very well. So I
yeah.
think one thing I will say, this is the biggest nitpick ever, but I know
He did
Matt
look.
Reeves.
He did look a little
That's
goofy. Yeah,
exactly what I was
yeah,
saying. I'm like, just do the Arkham thing. Just have his cape be the one that glides him around. You don't have to. You don't have to make that realistic. It's a Batman
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That's what I was thinking. Because his face looked very goofy during that. I don't know. It brought me out a little bit, but
yeah,
like,
it did. It did, and the way it's such a very cartoonish fall too. I mean, like it was funny. It was well done. It was very funny. You see the hesitation. You see the desperation. And it's very very anxiety inducing as well.
yeah,
But it's kind of one of the only issues I have with the movie, which is just a little nitpick. Is Matt Reeves does want this to be realistic, and we've seen realistic Batman. So you don't have to lean into being real. Just lean into being Batman, and, you know, just
Yeah, you could have a little bit unrealisticness in there.
yeah,
It doesn't really have to be fully realistic. I
yeah,
mean, as long as it's grounded and we understand the approach is going with, it's fine to have a unrealistic moment here and there. It's just a movie. It's not real life, you know.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, but I love the sequel. Like after Batman punches Jim Gordon, Jim Gordon's like, "Did you not pull your punch?" It's like I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like the little bit of humor in this movie that just really clicks for me. Um, Another thing I want to talk to you about is what's your favorite scene in this movie? Like
dang, I have two favorite scenes. I mean, I guess
two?
I have two favorite scenes. Um, we haven't talked about the ending yet, so I'll save that one for a little bit. But one scene that I love is the one with Alfred and Bruce in the hospital,
Oh yeah,
and that is the scene that I love because it shows a shift in his mindset. Because when he was originally being Batman for the first 2 years, he had this mindset of, I don't care if I die, I don't care if I get hurt, I just want to get rid of crime in Gotham. I got to be this figure. I got to make them afraid of me. I have to make people afraid of committing crime, you know? And when something bad happens to Alfred, that's when he kind of shifts where, you know, he kind of, you know, follows Catwoman's mission, like you said
yeah,
earlier. Like, oh no, I'm not here to make people afraid of me. I'm here to protect people. I'm here to help
exactly.
people. So, and I think when he says, you know, I may not be afraid to die, but I am afraid of losing someone to care about. And that's when
Yeah,
Alfred reaches out and he's like, here, take my hand.
yeah.
That was
Actually, speaking of Alfred, you know what that reminds me of another Batman game, Batman Origins, when Bane attacks Alfred.
yeah,
But it's like Batman Origins is literally like the Batman because Batman Origins, Batman's very aggressive throughout the whole game, basically.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
and then this movie, Batman's aggressive for most part of the video game. I mean, movie. Yeah, but what was there other first scene? I just want to point that out, by the way. My bad.
Yeah, no. I love that you point that out. I know exactly what you're talking about when he's in the Batwing flying over back to the Batcave and hears Bane's voice and he's like,
And this time he's in the Batmobile trying to go to
yeah,
save Alfred.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the
And
explosion
then
already happened, you know.
yeah, and but like see him call, and the lady answers like, "Something very bad has happened." You're like, oh, "What?"
Yeah,
Like it's like, whoa, they took a risk and killed Alfred like that. Like the first time I
that's what
watched
I thought
it,
too. That's what I thought too. I was like, no, you guys did not just do that.
it's
But
like a little heart attack that Matt Reeves just gave us. Like, oh no, Alfred's fine. Oh, I'm like, oh, thank God he is.
yeah,
It's like if Alfred died in the first Batman movie when it's supposed to be his like second year as Batman, that would not make sense. But
yeah,
thank God there
exactly.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, but to mention my second favorite scene, it also has to do with holding the hand. You know, I love the ending, the last monologue of the movie where he kind of says, you know, vengeance can't change the past. You know, uh, and you know he's helping the lady kind of be strapped away and kind of taken by the helicopter to get medical attention.
Yeah.
You know, she kind of like says, "Wait, no, hold on to me for a second." And he holds onto her hand until she's pulled all the way up, and you know, and you have something in the way playing in the background, but this time it's something in the way mixed with the score. Um, I love that scene a lot. I don't know which one is my favorite between the two, but I love both of those scenes. What about you?
I think my favorite scene got be either the scene when he sneaks into the Iceberg Lounge as Bruce, well, not as Bruce Wayne. Like the first time he goes as Batman,
Yes.
he has to fight his way through with twins and everyone else. The second time he gets in because he's Bruce Wayne. The third time it's like, I'm done with this shit. I'm just gonna sneak in there.
Yeah.
I just love that little. Again, we're speaking about the humor, the little bit of humor that is sprinkled there. There is, but
It's just enough.
yeah, it's just enough. But yeah, I just love that. But I also love the iconic interrogation scene. The first time I watched this, when Riddler says Bruce Wayne, I'm like, wait, does Riddler know he's Batman? I'm like, what the heck? And then it's like Bruce Wayne is not the only one we got because obviously Thomas Wayne was corrupt too, and
Yeah.
I understand why Riddler's trying to go after the corrupt. Even though Bruce Wayne probably did nothing wrong whatsoever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess Riddler's problem with Bruce Wayne is that when he felt lost, when he experienced loss, he was just able to, hide away in his tower, just,
Oh
be
yeah, true.
have all these resources that he never had. He was stuck in an orphanage. So even though Bruce Wayne didn't do anything, he had the resources to help him not do anything. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And then Batman saying, Riddler, you're sick, you're this or that, and oh no, this is not how it's supposed to go. And then you see Riddler just Paul Dano having fun and singing. What was he singing again?
Uh, Ave Maria, I think some of that. Something.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous like that. I thought that was hilarious in the movie, and it shows that he's a menace too. And then Batman's like, "What have you done?" And you see the explosions happening, and Gotham's under flood. And then
Yes.
I thought that was a perfect setup. But the way we got there was we find Riddler's hideout, which was right in front of them, sort of.
Yeah, it was. You can kind of tell which streets, this street leads to the Iceberg Lounge, this street leads to the chapel,
Yeah,
this leads to the city
yeah,
hall.
and then it leads to this moment here that Riddler gets caught. And I love the fact that when Riddler gets caught, he's drinking his coffee, but there's a question mark on his coffee. Like, again, Easter egg to the Gotham Arkham games because Riddler always leaves a trophy on everywhere in Gotham. I guess that was his trophy.
Yeah, just press X to collect real quick.
And then you see, like, again, we talk about Paul Dano's eyes. When you get caught, you see that creepy eye thing, and
And
there
smile.
were the smile too, but you also see detectives ask him, "Which one is you?" It's like, "You asked me." uh, Other than that whole scene. Oh, also, Riddler being influencer. That was out of left field. That worked though. I don't know why, but
Hey guys,
hey
like
guys, I'm gonna be gone for a while. And then you see get your rifles ready, and we'll get to the ending in a bit. But let's go back a little bit and let's talk about the moment when Catwoman finds out her friend got killed. Because I thought that scene was heartbreaking. Because she was trying to save her friend throughout the whole movie, and unfortunately, she couldn't do it. And the Penguin gets out of nowhere, and we have a really cool gun sequence before that awesome Batmobile scene. And how do you what did you think about that build up from the shootout scene to the Batmobile chase sequence?
I mean, the Batmobile in this movie is kind of like a handmade, deconstructed, reconstructed muscle car. And the first introduction to where you just hear the engine revving and Penguin's fear in his eyes, just staring at it. I thought that was very, very well done. I mean, it's an amazing chase scene. I know you can argue that a lot of destruction is happening, but the movie never says that anybody's dying. No one else is really getting hurt. So as long as the movie doesn't say it, it didn't necessarily happen, or it didn't actually show it either. So I thought it was a perfect chase scene, and you got the iconic line of like, "I got you, I got you," and then
Yeah,
you see the car come right out of the fire, which again goes back to what we were saying earlier about the beautiful use of color. All orange on the screen. You should see the black Batmobile fly through it.
yeah,
It does.
but we haven't really talked about the score during that scene. It's like don 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 like that really fast score that adds intensity to the scene, and the whole sequence of the Batmobile taking some damage too. And I don't know how not Riddle, Penguin flipped that gas truck
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that. That's there we go. Unrealistic approach. There's no way a tiny ass car can do that. There's no way.
yeah, but that's why you can make things unrealistic. It's fine. So,
Exactly. There we go. Where was this in the glide scene, Maverick?
just have fun with it. Just have them jump off and go like this. His cape is flying in the air. It's a superhero movie. Have fun with it. Kind of like the Penguin chase scene. You had a lot of fun with it there. A lot of things are blowing up. It's so badass. Like just have fun in some of these scenes. I understand
Yeah.
getting grounded, but you don't have to make everything realistic. So
Yeah, but I love that scene because a color grading's there. It feels fast, it feels intense, it feels realistic, and you have Colin Farrell just having the most fun time playing this character of the Penguin. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I think his character was hilarious, and I still haven't seen the Penguin TV show. I'm sorry, but we'll get to
all
that
caught up.
event.
I love it. I love it.
I,
Please go.
I, I know it's great. I know it's great. I'm just waiting for. Well, the finale's out soon, so I'll go start binging it soon.
This Sunday, you guys. Well, as of the recording of this video, the finale is this Sunday. So,
Yeah. Um. Well, oh, we got to talk about Carmel Falcone.
how are we? Yeah, we haven't talked
Uh,
about Falcone yet. John Turturro is fantastic.
John Turturro's fantastic. I love his performance. Best adaptation of the character by far. But the main thing I want to talk about is that conversation between Bruce Wayne and Carmine Falcone because um, Carmel Falcone say, well, Tom Thomas Wayne say Carmel Falcone, and that's how Bruce Wayne's more connected to him in some sort of way.
Yes.
But I just love that whole sequence and that conversation between those two characters. I thought it was really great. I mean, the chemistry with the whole cast members is fantastic, but I feel like John and Robert Patterson just really killed it for that little conversation they had in it.
I mean, he does such a great job because he's a bad person, and he's very belittling to
Yeah.
Bruce. He's like, when Bruce says, "Oh, I mean, my dad only saved your life because he was just taking the Hippocratic oath," and John Turturro's character, he just starts laughing at him, in front of
Yeah.
Penguin and them, and he has like the perfect, like he does a perfect, like, I am bigger than you. I'm the head of Gotham. You're beneath me, and he does that so well. So
Yeah.
I love I love Carmine Falcone in this movie, or Falcone. I always kind of interchange.
Falcone, yeah. And it's like he doesn't have to be like a fighter or anything, but his
Yeah,
presence as like this hardcore guy who wants to run business in this crime world really shows out in this movie. Especially the fact that we find out that that's Lenny Kyle's father. You
mm-hmm.
know, speaking of fatherhood, Riddler is finding out the sins of Bruce Wayne's father throughout the whole movie too. That's another aspect of the film. We have that whole sequence since of the father Hush popped up during that bit. So my question is, do you think Hush might be in the second Batman movie? Because if they talked about it, could Thomas Elliot appear? I don't know. It
Yeah,
could be.
anything is possible for the second one. I think Matt Reeves has kind of confirmed he does want to take a more grounded, realistic approach, so that kind of cancels out, Mr. Freeze, Clayface,
I
you know.
mean, I mean, you can still do a grounded Clay, or not Clayface, Mr. Freeze for sure.
Yeah, he definitely could. Mr. Freeze would be my top choice in terms of like Hush. Um, Hush to me is he's a cool Batman villain. He's not necessarily my first choice. I mean, I think with the way they set up corruption in the city and there's more going on, I feel like that's perfect for the Court of Owls to kind of be the villain in the next movie, or the
Yeah,
villains in the next movie. So, in terms of Hush, that's not my top choice or anything. I know it's kind of a hot take. I'm not the biggest Hush fan personally, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind it. I think Matt Reeves has a great vision for what he wants to do. But in terms of Hush, not my top choice. I think my top choice would be Court of Owls or Mr. Freeze. So
I mean, Court of Owls would be interesting for sure, especially the fact that we've never seen them live action before. But I feel like Hush would be really interesting because we've never seen that adaptation of Hush in
oh
live
my,
action too. And but there's like this anime movie that I really love, Batman Hush, that they could probably adapt to live action with this universe, because being more grounded. And so be really interested to see this crazy surgeon that could, you know, look like Bruce Wayne and frame Bruce Wayne. It'd be something really interesting angle that they could bring with the character if they choose to go to that route if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, like the possibilities are endless. Like even though he set up a more grounded world, there's a lot he can do with this version of Gotham, and I think that's going to be the most exciting thing to see.
Oh, 100%. And another thing I want to talk about is, when we see the bat signal and Jim Gordon and Bruce Batman go, and it's like Kyle beating up somebody and finds out Carmine Falcone got her friend killed, like that heartbreaking scene. And you see Slim Kyle go on a vengeance tour and tries to kill that person, but Batman stops her, and it really shows the humanity in the character of Batman because he doesn't want Slim Kyle to go do this dark route. But because if Slim Kyle kills one person, just go become like a more of a criminal than an anti-hero for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that scene. I know we should have talked about it earlier for sure, but that I'm glad you brought it up. That was it was amazing. It was a great scene. It kind of solidified that this Batman does not kill people. Even though he does go a little more on the brutal side, he will never kill. He does not cross that line, and he wants to make sure that someone that he cares about, Selena Kyle, or he's starting to care about, he doesn't want to see her kind of go down the wrong path. So I think that was
Yeah,
a pretty well done scene.
yeah. And then when we find out you see Slim Kyle go on this revenge tour, finds Carmel Falcone, Bruce Wayne's trying to stop her, and you see the dirtiness and Carmel Falcone as he's trying to choke her out, and then luckily Batman comes in the right time to save her, and then Falcone gets arrested and gets blasted by the Penguin.
Immediately, it was a heart dropping scene because you're like,
Yeah,
man, they finally got him. They're gonna get all this information out of him, and it kind of goes back to what he said earlier. He's like, hey, everything I know is gonna die with me, and he's
yeah,
right. He's right. You can't get all the information out of him,
yeah,
and it's right there in front of him. It's such a and it's like everybody's emotions are different. The police and Batman, they're like, no, we just lost our way of learning about so much information we needed to know about the underworld of Gotham. For the Penguin, it's like this is my turn to be in power now, and then for Catwoman, it's like kind of like a bittersweet act of justice for her, and just seeing all those reactions, it's so perfectly done.
yeah. And I think that sequence is so great because it has like diversity of emotions between each character, and you show their own perspectives on one outcome, being Carmel Falcone being dead. And I think that's something really great that Matt Reeves does in this movie. And I feel like Matt Reeves does this throughout the whole runtime of this film. That makes this movie so special. And then obviously I think we could start diving into sort of the ending, but let's go to that action scene before the ending when Batman's fighting Riddle's thugs. And yeah, I think that again, speaking of Gotham, I mean not Gotham, Arkham City or Arkham games, the sequence where he has, well, not, we'll call it a small palette for sake of reason because everybody
Yeah,
reminds me
no,
of that.
I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, and
Uh,
I think I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it definitely felt Arkham when like comes through the glass. It feels like press triangle to do a takedown type thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel like that whole sequence was so great too. Um, and then you have like a shot redemption for a character, a Catwoman, right? Because Catwoman's like, well, she's trying to leave, obviously, Gotham, and we find out where she goes later on. But detective's like, oh, the city's flooded. You cannot leave right now. Blah blah blah. And then it's like, oh shit, that's my moment to save Batman, right? Because Batman saved her, so it's time for her to save Batman, right? And I thought that whole sequence when Batman was in trouble, Selina Kyle comes in, saves him, and then when the Riddler dog starts attacking her, then Bruce Wayne has that ejecting thing that
It's
looks
just some adrenaline. I think people were saying it's like the Titan or something or Venom or whatever, but I think Matt Reeves kind of confirmed it was just
adrenaline, and then absolutely goes crazy and beats up that thug.
Yeah.
And at that moment when Bruce Wayne says to the thug, "What are you? I vengeance," and that's the turning point. That's the full circle moment from the beginning of Bruce Wayne saying, well, Batman saying, "I'm vengeance" to Ghost Thugs, to one of the Riddler thugs saying, "I'm vengeance," opening the mind of Batman say, "Oh shit, vengeance is not the way. It's time for me to be hopeful for the people of Gotham," right? So now I'm going to let you dive into the ending. There we go.
Yeah.
See how I set that up? There we
You know,
go.
you have that vision, man. You have it. I love it. I love seeing the vision. So, yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier, I love the ending, the last monologue. You know, I mean, not before we get to the monologue, you have the beautiful scene where he puts a flare in the air.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I guess like the moment, you know, he's about to, the electrical cables are about to fall into the pool of water where there's people, right? And he cuts it, and he shocks himself when he falls into the water. But when he comes out of the water, he comes out a brand new Batman. You know, he's not trying to fight anybody. He pulls out the flare, and he's guiding people
Yeah.
to exit. And I think, oh, sorry, it's a fly right in front of me. But
Yeah, but the first person, I mean the press, well, not president, or person running for president,
she's
she
running for mayor.
mayor. I keep,
City council? I don't even know. Sorry, we just had an election right now, so that makes sense.
yeah, I'm confused. I thought the elections were in the Batman, not real life. Anyways, with that being said, the person running for mayor, she was hesitating, but there's like a little kid that trusted Batman to save him, and then people start falling dumb, right? I thought that was a cute little scene in there.
Yeah, and it's the same kid who has his, you know, his dad is murdered by the Riddler in the very opening of the film. So having him be the one to follow Batman to safety is very poetic, very emotional, very well done.
Yeah, and I just love how well written this movie is because like you see things in the beginning and they go full circle to the end and just makes complete sense. It's like
Yeah,
a whole poet for 3 hours. You're literally watching poetry for 3 hours. In fact, this movie looks so beautiful. It's like a painting. Like you could pause any moment in this movie and have this as your desktop screen. It's insane. Like it's insane.
absolutely. Yeah,
But
I love the ending. I love the ending.
the ending's great because it's like, oh, I cannot be a person that uses fear as a tool. I need to be a person of hope, um, and be a good example for my people around them. Because crimes are always going to be up.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter how many times you trust, crimes are always going to be there, right? So it's better for Batman be a symbol of hope and save people more and stop the criminals, obviously. But yeah, I love that ending a lot. It has a change in character. It's coming. It's like kind of like a coming to age story of him
yeah. You know, coming to be a hero type.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, and he is a hero at the very beginning of the movie. He's a hero at the end, but it's a very different type of hero. You know, all heroes are supposed to be a symbol of hope, and in the beginning, he's more so focused on being a symbol of fear. Which I mean, I think the movie is very important, saying that Batman is never ever just a symbol of fear. He is always a symbol of you know, hope, someone to look up to, someone to be reminded that, you know, there is good in the city. So I think that
Yeah,
was very well done.
exactly. Like it's always good to see no matter what. Like
Yes.
sure, there's criminals everywhere, but there's always going to be, light in any of the tunnel. Which I feel like the flare scene kind of represents that light at the end of the tunnel. If that makes sense, because you see like a really bright light in the end, kind of poetry. There we go. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going with. Yeah,
No, I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, I was very well said too. It is very poetic for sure. So
yeah. And then you see after that whole beautiful ending monologue, you see Batman and Catwoman going their separate ways, and Catwoman says to Batman, "You're going to die doing this." And then obviously Batman doesn't care. He's going to continue saving people of Gotham, which is awesome.
yeah,
But the question I had is Catwoman is going to Blackhaven. And you know who else is in Blackhaven?
Right, of course. Yeah, you already know Nightwing, our boy Dick Grayson. Obviously, he's not a character yet in this universe. He hasn't even been Robin yet. But I definitely see where you're going. I'm glad they put the little name drop there.
Well, I mean, there has to be a reason why it's going, like, why she's going to like Haven, Iron to get out of Gotham, but there has to be an Easter egg for Nightwing to be in this movie in the future because I feel like having Robert Pattinson's Batman be like a mentor towards the character of like a Dick Grayson or Nightwing would be really awesome to see. And you could probably do like a trilogy of like two more Batman movies and have Nightwing take up the mantle or something and then make him maybe just Nightwing movie, or maybe him becoming the new Batman would be something really interesting. Some random idea I have on mind because it'd be something different live action, which would work really well because Nightwing did play Batman in comic books, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
I, I feel like that could definitely be a cool little setup.
Yeah, no, I mean Nightwing is someone we've never ever seen. Well, I mean we've seen him in Titans, but I don't know how many people want to count. I mean, obviously it counts, but there's very mixed reaction on that. And I know we have a long way to go until we get to Nightwing. Obviously, we got to get to Dick Grayson and Robin first, but that would definitely be an interesting direction we take if Dick Grayson becomes the next Batman or something like that.
Yeah,
I definitely want to see Robin. I would love to see Robin. And I mean, not to. I'm obviously not going to spoil the Penguin show, but you have kind of like the anti Batman and Robin in there with Penguin and Vic, which is not a spoiler, it's just two characters in the show. But
yeah,
yeah, I
but
have to see it.
but like I feel like Matt Reeves would be a good choice to have that though. I feel like Batman has become like the symbol of hope, right? So if he sees like I Dick Grayson's parents dying, he could relate to that and bring him in and make him become Robin and have a like sort of father son relationship build up. And I think that'd be really awesome to see. And I feel like that'd be awesome for Matt Reeves to do if they choose to go that direction, especially the fact that we never seen Dick Grayson in a movie. We've seen it in TV shows, but never seen it in a movie before.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. Well, we've seen Dick Grayson in like Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, but that was a while ago. That was a different type of Batman. So it would definitely be nice to see that again. It's been a long time since we've gotten a live action Robin, and I think it's been too long. So
Yeah, it's been way too long. Because I believe James Gunn's working at a Batman movie, right?
yes, so
Um,
I don't know who's going to direct it or write it or anything like that, but James Gunn's Batman is going to be Batman Brave and the Bold, and he's already going to be on his fourth Robin. Damian Wayne will be the Robin in that movie. So again, we're not going to see Dick Grayson Robin. So
so save Dick Grayson for Matt Reeves' universe and
yeah,
have Rob. Yeah, that's what I was
Dick
thinking.
Grayson
Yeah,
would already be Nightwing in James Gunn's universe. So
yeah, and like we should discuss this right now. Obviously we don't know too much info on Batman 2 right now. So what direction do you think they should bring to the Batman 2 movie? Especially the fact that you see the Penguin TV show, maybe that could hint to something towards Batman 2 or whatsoever.
that's a very good question. I'm not going to spoil Penguin here, just in case anybody hasn't seen it yet. But the Penguin, I mean, it doesn't necessarily. It sets up a lot of interesting things for sure, but it doesn't give you a clear answer of where they're going to go next, which is what I like about the show. It's a continuation of the movie. It's not like filler until we get the next movie. Not at all. It's a continuation of the last movie, and it's a continuation of the underworld part of Matt Reeves' Gotham. So, if I had to make a guess based on the Penguin, I mean, I would say Court of Owls makes sense. I mean, I'm not confirming or saying that or anything like that, but I think that would work because Penguin's very focused on the crime of Gotham, so you can have Batman 2 kind of take on the behind the scenes of Gotham, like what's been going on that no one has really seen or heard of, and then out of nowhere you see this Court of Owls is learned about and stuff. And then if you want to continue the more Bruce side of the story, you mentioned earlier Thomas Elliot. That would be an interesting way to go. But it's hard to say what direction I want them to go. Penguin doesn't really give me a clear answer, which I like. But
Yeah,
I
that's good. Yeah. I was actually thing. Well, not the second movie, but core albums, obviously. But the fact that we had that Joker deleted scene, I
Oh yeah.
will, I would love to see the last movie be take inspiration from Batman Arkham Asylum
Hmm.
and have Joker escape, and we see whole different criminals from the previous movies that Batman fought. I think that'd be a stellar idea.
Yeah.
And have well, just save Joker for a last movie. We don't need to see Joker for a while. We have enough Joker right now, I
Yeah.
but I feel like it'd be perfect to have it for the last movie and have like kind of like an Easter egg thing of having Batman fight the previous villains that you fought with. You
Yeah.
know, and I feel like that'd be awesome to see.
Yeah. Get this man in the writers' room. I would love to see that for the for the trilogy, for definitely.
You were pointing the wrong way, man.
Oh, am I not? On my end, I'm pointing the right way. That's crazy.
Oh,
How about now?
okay. Ah, there we go. Yeah, yeah, there we
Get
go.
this
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
get
yeah.
this guy in the writers' room.
Is there anything else you want to add on to Batman, or are you? Do you think we captured most of the things so far?
I think we captured everything. I mean, uh, like I said, it's one of my favorite movies of all time in general, not just comic book movies. I think this was a very well done movie. It took Batman in a lot of interesting directions, and it's definitely my favorite version of the character. I mean, besides comics, of course, and Batman the Animated Series, and on besides Arkham, my favorite movie version of Batman, I would say, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what we get next. The Penguin show, without saying anything, has me more excited for this world. Overall, I think it's one of the best comic book movies out there. So that's all I have to say, really.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm excited to see what Matt Reeves does with his inner words. He's very passionate about it. Looks like he's a fan of the character Batman, which is very important. He's taking inspiration for the comic books. Might be taking inspiration for the Arkham games too, based on what we've been saying throughout this whole episode. And I think that's it, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thanks for coming by. You know, have a great talk. And yeah, ABK out.